It's fall, got pine needles on the ground. Leaves are going to be falling here soon. Common question that I get is I run a lot of battery mowers. Look at all those guys back there. Do battery mowers, or honestly any mower, but do battery mowers pick up pine needles off the ground? I'm going to show you right now. We are in between lots of weather storms. It's been a blustery month of October where I live. It's unseasonably cold and it's just not pleasant out here. The exact moment in time the ground here is dry. I'm going to run over these things with the battery mowers. I'm going to show you exactly how well they pick up pine needles off the ground. Forgive the wind, folks. I can't get rid of it. Right now I've got 5 mowers here. This little teeny one in the middle is kind of a control yard force. This was a very high-end, top-of-the-line mower a few years ago. It's still one of my favorite ones. Ego, this is the brand spanking new one from 2020. There is a new 2021 version. It's got a different model number. This one was top-of-the-line last year. Greenworks Pro 80 volt. This is a beast of a machine. If I ever want to cut through the hardest of conditions, this gets through it every single time. Here's the Toro 60 volt recycler. This is a very popular battery powered lawnmower. However, Toro has some new units that came out in 2021. No doubt they're going to come out with new units going forward as well. None of these are brand spanking new for 2021, but they're all very good battery powered lawnmowers. The Works machine right there in the middle is, again, my control unit. It's a very small, so we're talking a 14-inch, and I still need to throw the bag onto it. But all of these mowers I'm going to set on the second setting, not the lowest, but the one up from the lowest. I usually cut my grass on the lowest setting possible, so I'm going to bring it up one little bit because I don't want to cut grass per se. I want to pick up pine needles. All right, for those of you who are curious, I'm sure some of you are, each one of these mowers has a fresh battery, fully charged. Each one has an empty bag, and none of these mowers are brand new. I've used all of these mowers a whole bunch of times over the past, let's call it, I don't know, season and a half. To give you an idea of the pine needles I'm going to be dealing with, they are more dense as we get closer to the fence line, and a little bit less dense as we come over here towards the house. I'm going to take each lawnmower on a couple passes of a diagonal, a diagonal route, a route that I wouldn't normally take. That way I can get each mower across the thinner needles into the thicker needles, so you can kind of see the difference. It's not, this is not a laboratory setting. I think the needles are denser over there than they are over here, but it's pretty close. Let's come over here. I'm going to show you the paths so you can see exactly how they performed. This path right here was the Toro. It actually looks pretty good. This second strip was the Greenworks Pro, which I believe is the strongest, but obviously not the best at sucking up pine needles and presumably leaves. Right next to it is the strip that I used, the little Works mower, the little 14-inch. It doesn't look much different from the Greenworks in my opinion. The next strip right here is the Ego, which does look slightly better. I'll give it that, slightly better. But it's not nearly as good as a Toro. But I want you to really look at this one. This is a clean strip. That's the Yard Force mower. Almost nobody, certainly on YouTube, talks much about the Yard Force mower. The Yard Force mower is a handful of years old, and I have become a big fan of it this year especially. I've used it more than I did last year, and look at that. I just think it's performing really good, even in the suction department, right up there with Toro. Now everything kind of went over this area. If you got pine trees, like you see up above me, and you do want to go kind of the battery powered mower route at some point in the future, Toro's definitely got some pretty good suction, so it's going to be working pretty good for the leaves as well. I've consistently told people, even back to last year on this channel, that battery mowers perform pretty well, especially the high-end mowers when it comes to suction and power. I still stand behind that. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the rest of this yard, and I'm probably just going to use my yard force over there because, man, that strip looks good. There are other ways of removing pine needles from your yard. I have two videos about pine needles here in the yard that I'm going to link to down in the description below. One of them up here in the corner. Also in the description is a link over to the website where I outline your best options for getting pine needles off of the yard. It's not always the lawnmower's job.